Sam Pittman took the stage at SEC Media Days. That is John Nabors, Locked On Razorbacks, joining me here on the show. Let's start with Arkansas's head coach. Going into year number 5, trending down a little bit the last couple record-wise. How much pressure is he on to win this year?
I mean, I don't think there's anybody in the SEC that's got more pressure than Sam Pittman on it. I mean, you can't go from 9-4 to 7-6 to 4-8 and expect people to just be like, oh, no, everything's fine. So people wanted him fired after last year, and I was one of those that felt like, hey, if they made the move, then it's the right move. But his saving grace, or saving his bacon, pardon the pun, has been literally getting Bobby Petrino back. And because of that fact, that's at least provided some excitement. But I'm going to be honest, I can't remember a time, and being growing up as a Razorback fan and being in Arkansas, where there's been less excitement from the fan base for a football season than what they're seeing right now.
When you look at their schedule and how it shakes out, Sam Pittman said earlier today, we have to play those teams, but all those teams have to play the University of Arkansas as well. And that's certainly what you'd want to hear from your head coach, but
sure.
It's definitely more of an Arkansas has to play X, Y, and Z than X, Y, and Z have to play Arkansas. What number of wins this year do you think makes Sam Pittman the head coach of Arkansas football in 2025?
I think at minimum he's got to get to 7-5. Because even if you go 6-6, yeah, it gets into a bowl game. But if it sets you up and you go 6-7, it's like, do you really feel good about still had a losing season? Even though bowl games aren't as what they used to be. But I think 7-5 at least is going to provide, all right, well, you got at minimum 3 SEC wins, assuming you beat Oklahoma State. But even if you didn't beat Oklahoma State, you get 4 SEC wins. So that at least gets you back on track, back into the right trajectory and everything. But, I still don't know if, Sam Pittman may get to the point where he's just like, I don't want to retire. I mean, he's been 5 years. He's getting to that point. He said this is his last job. Wouldn't surprise me at all if that happened, even after a good season. But I think to me, at least, to provide fans with some sort of hope, it's got to be at least a 7-5 season.
Yeah, I think the pressure scale is probably highest for him. Maybe Clark Lee at Vanderbilt as well.
Napier, maybe.
Napier, I don't know. I think the pressure's there for Napier to have a solid year.
Right.
But 4-8 could actually see Billy Napier come back to Gainesville next year. 4-8 for Sam Pittman.
He ain't now.
And he's not going to be the head coach, and the coaching search will definitely be on. But how feasible do you think that 7-5 mark is, or a 7-6 mark after a 6-6 regular season with this Arkansas team, what they've done in the offseason? Sam Pittman says he feels good. He said he felt confident. And of course, every coach is going to project that, right? Because there's nothing else that you should project as a head coach of a football program. What do you think this team can accomplish?
I think that given the schedule, it's just no easy schedule in the SEC, but this is an easier schedule than Arkansas's had in a long time because they have 4 home games against Tennessee, Ole Miss, LSU, and Texas. Well, they only have 3 true road games against Mississippi State, Auburn, and Missouri.
It's not a bad road schedule.
Not at all. And then you have the game in Arlington against A&M, which they never win, but still, you got a nice setup to where you don't have Georgia on your schedule, you don't have Alabama on your schedule. I know it's without Nick Saban, but then your toughest games are at home, for what it's worth. So given that, it's that Oklahoma State game, week 2 is going to be the biggest one on the road. If you win that game, if you're 3-0 going into that game against Auburn on the road, I think that there's no reason why Arkansas doesn't go 6-6, 7-5. But if you lose that and you're 1-2, people are jumping ship. People are like, this ain't it. This ain't working. There's no energy. And it'd just be really hard to get the team back. So, no, I think it's feasible. I think Arkansas is set up to go 6-6. But it's going to be about how they do against that team in Stillwater against Oklahoma State. If they win, great. If not, it's going to be a long year.
When you listed off those home games against Texas, LSU, Ole Miss, and the fourth one is just
LSU.
And LSU. Mm-hmm. Feels like for Arkansas to have the sort of season that they want, that Sam Pittman might need, I feel like they got to get one of those. They have to find a way because it's in Fayetteville. And no, they're not going to win all of them. Obviously, if they win 2 of them, I think they'd be doing great. Yeah. That might be asking too much of this Arkansas team, but still feels like you have to get at least one, because going 0-4 in those big games, even if you have maybe a 5-7, 6-6 year, that can still ratchet up the pressure because at least amongst the fan base, because then they're coming to games in Fayetteville and they're like, well, we're not beating anybody good, so how close are we really to get into an SEC championship? Sam Pittman, he had a number of very funny remarks today. I think he had the most laughs of any coach so far at SEC Media Days this week, and he was asked about the 12-team playoff and, what are you going to do to get your program there? And he said, I'm just trying to make the damn SEC championship game, But if you're going to get to that level, you have to be able to beat those teams at some point.
Yeah, and I think that as weird as it is, like Arkansas, when they played Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin, especially at home, they've done really well. Like, Arkansas's dominated Ole Miss when Lane Kiffin's been there in the past 2 times they played in Fayetteville. And even on the times they played on the road, 2021, Arkansas lost where they scored a touchdown at the very end of regulation, and they went for 2 because they just wanted to win it, and they didn't get it. And that was against a team that went 10-2 in Ole Miss. And then last year, Arkansas defensively was great against them, going to Oxford at night and lost by a touchdown. It was still a really close game, a lot of people thought. So there's something about Ole Miss that Arkansas just either beats handedly or it's a close game. And so I like their matchup in that. The Tennessee one's kind of fascinating because Arkansas hasn't played Tennessee a whole lot. At least they haven't played Jeremy Pruitt yet. And offensively, they're going to be.
You mean
really
Josh
good.
Heupel?
Or Josh Heupel? Excuse me. Yeah, not Jeremy Pruitt. I forgot.
That's
the last time.
That's why we do segments together, folks.
Yeah, it's like that was the last time they played each other was Jeremy Pruitt. But yeah, Josh Heupel. So that'll be interesting to see. But also, here's the thing too: is not only those home games that they have a good start, but they have Arkansas gets a bye week before LSU and before Texas. So not saying that they're going to beat those 2 teams, but those are to me the 2 toughest opponents you have at home. And at least with those, you get a bye week going into those.
Sam Pittman talked about the transfer portal additions that his team has made this offseason. Taylon Green draws the most attention, of course, because he's the quarterback. He's coming in to replace KJ Jefferson, comes over from Boise State. Pittman said they have a lot of the same qualities and that he can run the offense that they need. That, time will tell along those lines. I think Taylon Green is solid. I think if he becomes what KJ Jefferson was, that's kind of the upper end of what he has. Maybe he's got a little bit more arm talent, but I think overall they're fairly similar players. But I want to talk about the other transfer portal players. 4 new offensive linemen that Sam Pittman highlighted in his opening remarks here at Media Days. What do you make of kind of the rest of the roster around Taylon Green, specifically that O-line?
Well, it's going to come down to the O-line because I think skill position player-wise, Arkansas is in great shape. I mean, they have all the wide receivers back from last year, which I don't think got a fair shake because the offense was so bad, but they have talent there. They have Luke Haz, who was a freshman tight end last year. If he didn't break his collarbone, he was on his way to be maybe freshman of the year. Like, he was that good, and he's going to be that good. And then they have some running backs, and Jaquindon Jackson's been a great transfer from Utah.
That's a good football player.
He's really good.
That is a good physical football player.
I'm excited to see him play. So you have skill guys, but it comes down to the O-line. But they changed coaches, and they added those guys, and I've been really impressed by them. I mean, Josh Braun's really been the leader of the team from the past year's team, but Fernando Carmona, Addison Nichols, he's talking about 2 guys that were highly regarded coming out of the transfer portal. Addison Nichols coming from Tennessee. He started on the team last year. Like, he's got SEC experience. You throw in Keith Blackstock, who's from Michigan State, that transferred into. He's going to be a big addition there. And I heard Pitman talk about Kudus, Patrick Kudus. He's one of the best players we got. He just lost his confidence last year. So I think offensive line, they're going to be vastly improved. If they're vastly improved, the offense is going to go. Because that's all. I mean, we all know it starts up front. Well, if Arkansas has an up front offensive line, Taylon Green's going to be great. Wide receiver's going to be great. Running back's going to be great. Bobby Petrino's offense is going to be great.
Yeah, I think the backfield of Taylon Green and Jaquindon Jackson, it's
gnarly.
Among the best quarterback running back tandems when you're talking about formulating a ground game. That has to make an offensive line coach like Sam Pittman really happy.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's the thing is you got the pieces there. You really do. It's just, and that's why Sam Pittman in spring ball, when they branched off to have position drills and whatnot, Sam Pittman always was with the offensive line and Eric Mateos. Like, they are, I don't know if it's going to equate to anything, but they are working their tails off to make sure that offensive line is good to go, because Sam Pittman got embarrassed last year by the offensive line play. He said it. He's like, oh, that's embarrassing and it can't happen. And so he has done, give him credit where credit is due. He's at least put in the effort in the offseason to make sure that he's doing everything he can to make it better. I think it will be better. But again, you're in the SEC. You could be better, but doesn't mean you're going to be better than the opponent you're going up against.
John Nabors, Locked On Razorbacks. John, appreciate the time.
As always, man, appreciate you.